Hey there, thanks so much for joining me for another tutorial. My name is Erinino, and today I'm going to show you two super quick and easy Valentine cards that are on the more masculine side if you're looking for a card to give that man in your life. So grab your paints and let's get started. Before we get started, I'll just run through my materials for you. Today I am using my Baohong Academy cold press watercolor paper. It's 140 pound. It's also 100% cotton. I have my Van Gogh paints, a jar of water, a paper towel, and for brushes, I have 3 Princeton snap brushes, one in a size 12 round, size 4 round, and size 2. And I also have my Curry's 2500 series in a size 10 round. You will also need a pencil and an eraser and markers for doing your lettering. I don't know which color I'm going to use, but I have a slew of different colors here. You will also need a ruler. This is a rolling ruler, but any ruler will do. And I will also be using my Kuretake metallic paint set here, and yeah, that's about it. So let's just jump in. I forgot to mention I may also be using my heat tool just to speed things up a bit. I have trimmed my paper down to 5x7, which is a standard card size. I'm just doing the fronts just to give you a couple of card ideas. When you're making the actual card, you can glue this to a blank folded card and do it that way, or you can make this the actual card by having your stock twice the size and just fold it in half. So this card is going to have copy on it running through the middle. So I've just masked that out right down the middle of my cardstock just with some painter's tape. So this first card is just going to be as simple as just drawing hearts all over the sheet. Last week I did a video tutorial on Mylar balloon hearts, and I used an actual little cutout template to draw the hearts so they would all be the same size. You can do that here, or just draw them all different sizes. I want them all different sizes, so it's just a little more playful, and the hearts don't need to be symmetrical. You don't have to worry about it. And keep in mind, when you get to where the tape is, just ignore it and draw over the tape as if it wasn't even there. So I'm just going to start with a heart here. I've also switched to my HB pencil, which draws a little lighter line, so you may have trouble seeing it. But that's okay. You'll see it once we get painting. Okay, so you see what I mean about ignoring the tape line. I'm just drawing as if it's not even there. And some of them can be quite big. Don't draw them really small. Otherwise, everything will just get a little tedious. I want these a little natural, but not crazy to the point where they don't look like a heart. So there we go. And there. Another one there. And I'm not going off the page because I didn't tape this to a board. So I'm not going to paint any of the hearts off the edge. Now, the HB pencil does draw a lighter line, but I think I'm still going to lighten them a bit with my kneaded eraser. So because I'm gearing these cards towards men and I want them to be a little more masculine, I'm not going to rhyme off my colors because everyone's palette is going to be different and it doesn't really matter. So make note that I'm just using blues and maybe some grays and greens, maybe greens, I don't know, I haven't decided. But anyway, you can pick your own palette. You could even, you know, do reds and pinks if you want it to be a little more feminine cards. So it's totally up to you. So I'm just going to start by doing some light washes in these hearts. And it's just going to be some fun playing with color and bleeds. So the pencil lines are only a guideline. You don't have to follow them exactly because these are going to be kind of irregular shaped hearts. They're not going to be perfect. It's just like a fun, loose card. But I do want to keep enough water on there. This paper is really, really thirsty, so I do want to keep enough water on there to keep them wet. But I'm just going to kind of jump around the page. And I don't think I'm going to have time to do them all and then add the color in because they'll start to dry. So we're just going to kind of jump around, like I said. So just start off with some, you know, medium to light washes and just do a few hearts at a time. I don't like that this isn't very pointy at the bottom. Just like that. Maybe do this guy over here. And I think that's enough for now. Like I say, I don't want them to dry. Then I'm going to go in and just start dabbing in some, some deeper pigment and just playing around and just letting them bleed and do whatever they want. Like that. Maybe get some ultramarine blue in there. Maybe switch to the ultramarine as the background wash. I'm going to take some Payne's Gray, I think. Tap some of that in there. As long as you keep tapping in paint, your hearts are going to stay wet in some areas. Okay, so we're just playing around, having fun. I don't know if I like the ultramarine. It's a little bright. I'm just going to tap some color on there to tone it down a bit. It's too, I don't know, too primary-ish, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. I think I'm going to switch it to some indigo, which is really dark and really highly pigmented. Stick to the blues. And if you get some hearts that have dried too quickly, like over here, and it's not bleeding in, it's not the end of the world. I'm just going to rinse off my brush and go in with a little bit of water and just reactivate that edge, just like that. And if you get blooms on something like this, it's okay because it's just kind of fun. And these will dry lighter too. The more water you use, the lighter it is when it dries. So keep that in mind. What you see, you know, if you're really happy with it because it's so bright and vibrant, may not be what you get at the end. I'm not sure if this guy's too dry now, so I'm just going to wet it again. maybe some Payne's Gray up there. So just keep doing this until you've had enough fun, I guess. I think I want to make these really nice and deep and almost like jewel tone colors. See how you can just kickstart that bleed by just going in with some water? Just like that. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to go in and do some splattering on this. I don't know. But I will go ahead now and finish this drying. Okay, so now that that's dry, reasonably dry, it's a little warped. I was going to put splatter on it, but I don't think I'm going to. So I'm going to take the tape off. So for this, I'm just going to do the copy in plain black. So I'm going to just draw a line for a guide for my type. And I think I'm just going to do like simple script. Just like that. And that's a little off center. So I know where to put it though. I'm just going to nudge it over a little bit. So just simple be mine. I'm just going to heavy it up just a little bit. Okay, so I'm also going to draw a line where that tape was, just to give it a little bit of a kind of graphic element. So I'm just going to set this aside while we do our second card. Okay, so for this second card, I did decide to tape it to a board because it's going to get quite wet and I just want to avoid any kind of wrinkles. And I'm just going to, and I do want the heart to be symmetrical, so I did cut out a little template. Just basically fold a piece of paper in half, draw your half heart, and then you're good to go. So I'm not sure what I'm going to write on here. Probably, maybe just, I love you. Simple, keep it easy. Okay, so we've got our heart on there, and I'm going to go in with my number 12. And I'm going to start with, actually what I've got now is a mixture of indigo and that teal color, but that's all good. I kind of like it. And I'm just going to put a wash over the whole thing. Try to keep this wet as we go along. I'm going to go in with my kind of teal color. Just going to put it wherever. Get some of that indigo. If you don't have indigo, just use the blue that you have and maybe add black to it or Payne's Gray to it, or maybe use a completely different color palette. It's totally up to you. You could do this in pinks and reds. You can throw some Payne's Gray in there. It's not going to hurt. Okay, so now while it's still wet, I don't want it pooling though, it's quite wet. I'm going to let it sit for just a couple minutes. And I'm going to change brushes actually. So I'm going to go down to my number 4 and I'm going to go into my metallic paints and I'm going to go and activate this silver. Now I don't want, the silver looks really neat when it goes down, but it can also take over. So that's why I'm switching to a little bit of a smaller brush and I'm just going to start tapping this in. Just like that. See how it just immediately spreads out? So you don't want it overtaking. Or maybe you do. I don't know. It's totally up to you. But I want to make sure that we keep some of those nice dark areas. And I think that's good. There's a little too much water over here. I'm just going to pick some of it up. I think I will kind of boost up the drying with my heat tool just so we can get going. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to take the tape off because I want to draw a border around this. So I'm just going to go first with my pencil and I'm going to just draw a border, I don't know, about 3/16 in. I'm just eyeballing this. You can painstakingly measure it, but for the sake of, for the sake of the video, I'm just going to draw this in. So the border's in, it's a little off, but I don't know, either that or the heart is, but you can see the metallic effect there. So what I want to do is take my number 2 brush and I'm going to get that metallic paint. I don't normally like putting this in my palette because it kind of does weird things and I don't like to contaminate my paint with it, but I do want to mix up not just silver. I want to make a blue metallic kind of color, and this is the only palette I have. Maybe you have metallic colors and that's awesome. That's what you can use. I'm going to clean my brush off well because I don't want to contaminate my paints, like I said. I'm going to need more than that. There, so we've got kind of this metallic indigo now, which is what I want. Actually, I think I'm going to put some of that kind of teal color in there too. Now, what I'm going to do is first, I'm going to paint around the entire heart. That's why I switched to my number 2, because I don't want a really thick line. I'm wondering if it could stand to be a little bit lighter. I'm going to add even more silver. While that dries, I'm going to mix up a little more of this bluish silver color. Just take a little bit of the indigo. And I'm just going to paint the border in all the way around. Okay, so now that my border's done, you can see that it's got that, I hope you can see that it's got that metallic effect. Now, take a ruler and just draw a guideline for my copy. And I think in this case, I'm actually just going to print it, but I'm going to print it in lowercase. And I'm just going to do that in a dark blue marker that I have. Am I? Maybe that's too bright. Yeah, that's too bright. I don't like that. I'm just going to stick to plain old black. So this first card is probably dry by now, and we can erase that. So there you go. There are 2 Valentine card ideas, a little on the more masculine side if you're looking for something to give the man in your life. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you found it helpful. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you don't miss out on more beginner-friendly tutorials. And that's it for today, so I will see you next time.